Imagine standing in the heart of a lush, green forest, where the air is thick with mystery and the whispers of ancient stories. The trees around you seem to hold memories of heroes and battles long forgotten. This is the world of Irish mythology, a world where the line between reality and legend blurs, and where the Fenian Cycle takes its place as one of the most beloved and captivating tales. In the vast tapestry of Irish mythology, the Fenian Cycle holds a special place. It's a collection of stories that sing of courage, love, loyalty, and loss. These are tales that have been passed down through generations, told around the hearth on cold winter nights, keeping the memory of great heroes alive. But the Fenian Cycle is more than just stories. It's a reflection of the Irish soul, a mirror that shows the values and dreams of a people who have always been deeply connected to the land and the past. At the heart of the Fenian Cycle is Fionn mac Cumhaill, a hero of unmatched bravery and wisdom. From his earliest days, Fionn's life was marked by trials and challenges that would shape him into the leader he was destined to become. As a child, he was raised in secret, away from the dangers that threatened him, by wise women who knew the ways of the old world. They taught him not only how to survive, but also how to understand the deeper currents of life. One of the most well-known stories about Fionn tells of how he gained the wisdom that would guide him through his life. It wasn't through books or lessons, but through a simple act of obedience to his master. Fionn was tasked with watching over the Salmon of Knowledge as it cooked, with strict instructions not to eat it. But when he touched the fish to check if it was done, a drop of its oil burned his thumb. Instinctively, he put his thumb in his mouth to ease the pain, and in that moment, all the knowledge of the world flowed into him. From that day on, Fionn could call on this wisdom whenever he needed it, simply by chewing his thumb. But Fionn's story is not just one of solitary heroism. He was the leader of the Fianna, a band of warriors who were as famous for their loyalty to each other as they were for their skill in battle. The Fianna were more than just a group of fighters, they were a brotherhood bound by honor and a deep sense of duty. Each member had to prove themselves through trials of strength, courage, and even poetry, for in those days, a true hero was as much a poet as a warrior. The tales of the Fianna are filled with adventures that bring out the best and the worst in them. They hunted in the vast forests, fought battles against invaders, and protected the people from the dangers that lurked in the wild. But they also faced challenges of a more personal nature, love, betrayal, and the heartbreaking consequences of their choices. These stories remind us that even the greatest heroes are not immune to the trials of the heart. One of the most poignant tales in the Fenian Cycle is the story of Diarmuid and Gráinne. Gráinne, the daughter of the High King, was promised in marriage to Fionn, who by then was an older man. But her heart was captured by the young and handsome warrior Diarmuid, one of Fionn's most trusted men. Unable to deny her feelings, Gráinne put Diarmuid in an impossible position, either flee with her or break her heart. Torn between loyalty to his leader and love for Gráinne, Diarmuid chose to run with her, setting off a chain of events that would lead to their tragic end. As they fled, Diarmuid and Gráinne were pursued by Fionn and the Fianna. Their journey was fraught with dangers, but they also found moments of peace and love in the wild, untamed lands of Ireland. Diarmuid knew that his fate was sealed, but he could not turn away from the woman he loved. And in the end, it was a prophecy that led to his downfall. In one final, heartbreaking moment, Diarmuid was mortally wounded by a boar, and though Fionn had the power to save him, he hesitated just long enough for death to claim his old friend and rival. The story of Diarmuid and Gráinne is a tale of love and betrayal, but it also speaks to the themes that run through the entire Fenian Cycle: loyalty, honor, and the price of choices. These themes are not just abstract ideas, they are the very fabric of the stories, woven into the actions and decisions of the characters. The Fenian Cycle also speaks to the deep connection between the people and the land. The Irish landscape, with its mist-covered hills, ancient forests, and wild coastlines, is not just a backdrop for these stories, it is a living, breathing character in its own right. The Fianna roamed the forests and mountains, hunting and fighting, always aware that the land was both their ally and their greatest challenge. The natural world in these tales is often magical, with otherworldly beings and mysterious forces that the heroes must navigate. But even in the face of these challenges, the Fianna were bound by a code of honor. They lived by a set of values that emphasized courage, loyalty, and respect for others. These values were not just for the battlefield, but were also reflected in their interactions with each other and with the people they protected. The stories of the Fenian Cycle remind us that true heroism is not just about physical strength, but also about the strength of character. As the stories of Fionn and the Fianna unfold, we see characters who are larger than life, yet deeply human in their struggles and desires. They are warriors who face incredible odds, but they are also men who love, grieve, and sometimes fail. The Fenian Cycle is a testament to the complexity of the human spirit, capturing the beauty and the pain of life in equal measure. Through these tales, we see a reflection of ourselves, our hopes, our fears, our strengths, and our weaknesses. In a time long ago, when the winds whispered ancient secrets and the stars seemed to hold the fate of heroes, a child was born who would one day become one of Ireland's greatest legends. This child was Fionn mac Cumhaill, and his birth was surrounded by both mystery and danger, for his very existence was a threat to those in power. Fionn's story begins with his father, Cumhaill, a brave and noble warrior who led the Fianna. Cumhaill was a man of great strength and honor, but his love for Muireann, the daughter of a powerful druid, would set off a chain of events that would change everything. Muireann was known for her beauty, and many sought her hand, but her father, the druid Taj, was fiercely protective. He had refused all suitors, but when Cumhaill came to ask for Muireann's hand, Taj's refusal was different. It wasn't just a denial, it was a challenge, for Cumhaill was not a man to be easily dismissed. Ignoring Taj's wishes, Cumhaill and Muireann were wed in secret, their love defying the will of Muireann's father. When Taj discovered this, his anger was terrible. He called upon the High King, Conn of the 100 Battles, demanding justice. The king, bound by the laws of the land, declared Cumhaill an outlaw, and a battle was soon fought between Cumhaill and the forces of the High King. The battle was fierce, but Cumhaill was outnumbered. Though he fought bravely, he was struck down, leaving Muireann alone and heartbroken, carrying their unborn child. In her grief and fear, Muireann sought refuge with her father, but Taj, still enraged, refused to help her. Desperate and with nowhere else to turn, Muireann went to the court of the High King, begging for mercy. Conn, moved by Muireann's plight, granted her protection, but the price was that she had to give up her child. When the time came, Muireann gave birth to a son, a boy with hair as fair as the summer sun and eyes that shone with a light all their own. She named him Diarmuid, but the world would come to know him as Fionn, meaning the fair one. Fearing for her child's safety, Muireann entrusted him to the care of two women she knew would protect him with their lives, her sister Bodmall, a warrior woman, and the druidess Liath Loachra. These women took the boy deep into the forests, away from the eyes of those who might harm him. In the wild, untamed woods, Fionn was raised with love and care, though the shadow of his father's death always lingered over him. Under the watchful eyes of Bodmall and Liath Loachra, Fionn learned the ways of the forest. He grew strong and agile, his senses as sharp as those of the animals that roamed the woods. From a young age, he was taught to hunt, to track, and to survive in a world that could be both beautiful and brutal. But more than that, he was taught the stories of his people, the legends of the heroes who had come before him, and the values that would guide him throughout his life. Fionn's education was not just about physical skills. Liath Loachra, with her knowledge of the old ways, taught him the deeper wisdom of the Druids. She showed him how to listen to the world around him, to understand the language of the trees, the rivers, and the winds. She taught him about the balance between the seen and the unseen, the living and the spirit world. Through her guidance, Fionn came to understand that strength was not just a matter of muscle, but also of heart and mind. As Fionn grew, so did the stories of his early adventures. Even as a boy, he was brave and quick-witted, always ready to face whatever challenges came his way. There is a tale that speaks of how he first gained his name. One day, while out hunting, he came across a group of warriors who did not recognize him. They asked him who he was, and without hesitation, he replied, "I am Fionn." From that day forward, the name stuck, and the boy Diarmuid was known as Fionn, the fair-haired one who would become a hero. But Fionn's early life was not without its trials. Though he was hidden away, there were those who sought him, enemies who would have seen him dead before he could grow into his destiny. Bodmal and Liath Loachra kept him safe, but they also knew that one day he would have to face these dangers on his own. They prepared him for the day when he would step out of the shadows and claim his rightful place in the world. The first real test of Finn's strength and wisdom came when he was still just a boy. Hearing tales of a terrible boar that was terrorizing the people, Finn set out to face the beast. Alone and armed with nothing but his courage and a spear, he tracked the boar through the forest. When he finally came upon it, the beast was as fearsome as the stories had said. Its tusks were as sharp as swords, and its eyes burned with a savage fire. But Finn did not falter. With a steady hand and a brave heart, he faced the boar, and in a battle that would be remembered for generations, he emerged victorious. This victory was just the beginning of Finn's journey, but it was a sign of the greatness that was to come. The boy who had been born under the shadow of loss was now stepping into the light, proving that he was more than just the son of Cumhaill. He was Finn mac Cumhaill, a hero in his own right, destined to lead the Fianna and to leave a legacy that would echo through the ages. As the years passed, Finn continued to grow in strength, wisdom, and fame. But no matter how great he became, he never forgot the lessons of his youth, the love and guidance of Bodmal and Liath Loachra, and the sacrifices that had been made to protect him. Their teachings were the foundation upon which he built his life, and their love was the fire that fueled his spirit. In the stillness of dawn, when the world is hushed and the mist clings to the earth like a veil, a young boy stood by the river, watching the waters flow. This boy, Finn mac Cumhaill, was no ordinary child. Though his years were few, his heart was already marked by the weight of a destiny that he could not yet fully understand. Yet, even then, there was a fire in him, a quiet determination that would one day make him a legend. Finn's early life was shaped by his training, guided by the hands of those who loved him and by the ancient wisdom that whispered through the trees. He was taught to hunt, to track, to move silently through the forests as if he were part of the landscape itself. But more than that, he was taught to listen, not just to the sounds of the world around him, but to the deeper, quieter voices that spoke of things unseen. One of the most profound lessons Finn learned came in the form of a fish, a simple, unassuming salmon, but one that held within it the knowledge of the ages. This was the Salmon of Knowledge, a creature of legend that had consumed the nuts of the sacred hazel tree, the source of all wisdom. It was said that whoever ate the flesh of this salmon would gain the knowledge of the world. Finn was not the one chosen to eat the salmon. That honor belonged to his master, the poet and sage Fianna, who had spent years searching for the fish, longing for the wisdom it could bring. When Fianna finally caught the salmon, he entrusted Finn with the task of cooking it, with strict instructions not to taste even a morsel. Finn, ever loyal and obedient, did as he was told. But as he watched the fish cook over the fire, a drop of its oil splattered onto his thumb, burning him. Without thinking, Finn put his thumb in his mouth to soothe the pain. In that moment, something extraordinary happened. The knowledge that had been meant for another flowed into Finn, filling his mind with the wisdom of the ages. When Fianna saw the light in Finn's eyes, he knew what had happened. Though it meant the loss of the wisdom he had sought for so long, Fianna did not begrudge the boy. Instead, he accepted that Finn was the one destined to receive this gift. From that day on, Finn carried the wisdom of the salmon with him, a power that would guide him through the challenges and trials that lay ahead. But wisdom alone does not make a hero. Finn's boyhood was also marked by feats of bravery and skill that would come to define him. He was a boy who never shied away from a challenge, who faced danger with a calm heart and a steady hand. One of his first feats was slaying a mighty boar that had been terrorizing the countryside. Armed only with a spear and his courage, Finn tracked the beast through the dark woods, his senses attuned to every sound, every movement. The boar was a fearsome creature, its tusks sharp and deadly, its eyes filled with a wild fury. But Finn did not hesitate. With a quick and precise strike, he brought the beast down, earning the respect and admiration of those who witnessed his bravery. Another tale speaks of Finn's encounter with the magical hound Oisín, who would lull the people of Terra to sleep with his enchanting music before setting fire to the great hall. For years, no one had been able to stop Oisín, But Fionn, with his newfound wisdom and bravery, devised a plan. He armed himself with a spear dipped in a special potion to protect himself from the music spell. As the people of Tara fell into a deep slumber, Fionn alone remained awake, his heart pounding with anticipation. When Oisín appeared, ready to unleash his fiery breath, Fionn struck, killing the hound and saving the people of Tara from further destruction. These early deeds were not just acts of bravery, they were the moments that began to shape Fionn's future, molding him into the leader he was destined to become. With each challenge he faced, Fionn learned more about himself, about his strength, his courage, and the wisdom that now resided within him. But more than that, these deeds were a testament to the spirit that drove him, a spirit that would not be broken, no matter the odds. The tales of Fionn's boyhood are filled with moments of both triumph and struggle, but it was these experiences that forged the man he would become. The wisdom of the salmon, the strength of his arm, the courage in his heart, all these were tested and proven in the fires of his early adventures. And so, Fionn grew from a boy into a young man, his name already spoken with admiration and respect. But his story was far from over. These boyhood deeds were just the beginning, the first steps on a path that would lead him to greatness. The boy who had once stood by the river, wondering what his future held, was now walking confidently towards it, armed with the knowledge and strength that would one day make him a legend. In a time when the land was as wild as the hearts of its people, there arose a band of warriors whose name would echo through the ages, the Fianna. They were not just soldiers or protectors, they were the embodiment of courage, loyalty, and honor, bound together by a code that demanded more than just physical strength. To join their ranks was to prove oneself worthy of the highest ideals, and the trials were as unforgiving as the battles they would face. The Fianna were born out of necessity, a response to the chaos that often gripped the land. Ireland was a place where the line between the natural and the supernatural was thin, where dangers came not just from rival clans or foreign invaders, but from the very earth and skies themselves. The Fianna were formed to be the guardians of this land, warriors who could stand against any threat, no matter how fierce or otherworldly. To be part of the Fianna was to commit to a life of service and sacrifice. Those who wished to join had to face trials that tested not just their physical abilities, but their very souls. It was said that only the bravest and most skilled could hope to survive the rigorous challenges. A man had to run through the woods with his hair plaited, not a single strand disturbed by the branches that tore at him from all sides. He had to jump over a tree as tall as his head and duck under one as low as his knee, all without slowing his pace. He had to defend himself against 9 warriors, all attacking him at once, armed with only a shield and a stick. And if he faltered, if he failed to complete even one of these tasks, he was sent away, his dreams of joining the Fianna shattered. But for those who succeeded, the reward was greater than words could express. To stand among the Fianna was to be part of something larger than oneself, to be bound by a brotherhood that would last a lifetime. These men were more than just warriors, they were legends in the making, each with their own story of bravery, each with their own place in the great tapestry of Irish history. Among them were some of the greatest heroes Ireland has ever known. There was Gall Mac Morna, a warrior of unmatched strength, whose loyalty to the Fianna was as fierce as his prowess in battle. There was Diarmuid Ua Duibni, known for his beauty and his tragic love, a man whose heart was as noble as his sword was sharp. And there was Oisín, the poet and warrior, whose songs would one day tell the tales of the Fianna's greatest deeds. These were men who had faced the trials and emerged stronger, men who had earned their place among the finest warriors the world had ever seen. But of all the members of the Fianna, none would rise as high as Fionn mac Cumhaill. From the moment he joined their ranks, it was clear that Fionn was destined for greatness. He was more than just a skilled fighter, he was a leader, a man who inspired loyalty and respect in all who followed him. Fionn's wisdom, gained from the Salmon of Knowledge, guided him in every decision, and his bravery in battle was matched only by his compassion for his people. Fionn's rise to leadership was not without its challenges. The Fianna had long been led by Gall Mac Morna, a warrior whose strength and skill were legendary. But Gall had also been the man who killed Fionn's father, Cumhaill, in battle, a fact that cast a long shadow over Fionn's entry into the Fianna. The tension between them was palpable, a storm waiting to break. Yet Fionn did not seek vengeance. Instead, he sought to prove his worth through his actions, to show that he was the rightful leader through deeds, not through bloodshed. And prove himself he did. Time and again, Fionn led the Fianna to victory, his strategies as sharp as his sword, his courage unyielding even in the face of the most terrifying foes. The men who fought beside him saw not just a warrior, but a leader who cared for them, who valued their lives as much as his own. Slowly, the respect Fionn commanded grew, and even Gall, who had once been his rival, came to recognize the greatness in him. Fionn's leadership was marked by a deep understanding of the balance between strength and wisdom. He knew that to lead the Fianna was not just about winning battles, but about guiding his men with honor and fairness. Under his command, the Fianna became more than just a band of warriors. They became a symbol of what was best in humanity, the courage to stand against darkness, the wisdom to choose the right path, and the loyalty to protect those who could not protect themselves. And so, with Fionn at their head, the Fianna became legends. Their tales were told in every corner of Ireland, their names spoken with reverence and awe. They were the defenders of the land, the champions of the people, and under Fionn's leadership, they reached heights that had never before been imagined. The story of the Fianna is not just a tale of battles and bravery. It is a story of brotherhood, of a bond forged in the fires of trial and tempered by the wisdom of their leader. It is a story of a young boy who grew into a man, who took on the mantle of leadership and led his people with a heart as strong as his sword. And in that story, we see the essence of what it means to be a hero, not just in strength, but in spirit. In the shadow of a love that was never meant to be, there exists a tale so powerful, so full of yearning and sorrow, that it continues to resonate through the ages. It is the story of Diarmuid and Gráinne, a story where love, loyalty, and betrayal are woven together in a tapestry of emotions that cannot be unraveled without tears. Gráinne was the daughter of Cormac mac Airt, the High King of Ireland, known for her beauty and wisdom. Her heart, however, was not hers to give freely, for she was promised to Fionn mac Cumhaill, the legendary leader of the Fianna. Fionn, though a hero in his own right, was much older than Gráinne, and while he saw in her a future full of hope and companionship, her heart did not beat for him. Instead, it was drawn to another, a young warrior whose strength was matched only by his loyalty to Fionn, Diarmuid ua Duibni. At the feast where her marriage to Fionn was to be celebrated, Gráinne's eyes met Diarmuid's, and in that instant, she knew that her life could never be as it was meant to be. The fire that ignited between them was too strong to be extinguished by duty or reason. Gráinne, desperate to escape a future she could not bear, used a potion to place the entire hall in a deep sleep, save for Diarmuid. When he awoke and found her pleading with him to take her away, he was torn between his love for her and his loyalty to Fionn. Diarmuid was a man of honor, bound by the code of the Fianna and by his friendship with Fionn. But the pull of Gráinne's love was irresistible, and so, with a heart heavy with the knowledge of the betrayal he was committing, Diarmuid took her hand, and they fled into the night. Their elopement set off a chain of events that would lead them through the wilds of Ireland, pursued by Fionn and his men. The land itself seemed to conspire against them, throwing obstacles in their path at every turn. They sought refuge in forests, caves, and on mountainsides, each place a temporary sanctuary from the wrath of the man they had wronged. But it wasn't just Fionn's pursuit that tormented Diarmuid. The guilt of betraying his friend weighed heavily on his soul. Each step he took with Gráinne was a step further from the honor he had once held so dear. And yet, with every glance at her, with every word spoken between them, he knew that he could not turn back. Their love, though born of sorrow, was now the only thing that gave his life meaning. The trials they faced were many. Hunger gnawed at them, the cold bit into their skin, and the fear of discovery was a constant shadow. But through it all, their love burned bright, a flame that refused to be extinguished even in the darkest of times. Diarmuid, ever the warrior, protected Gráinne with a fierceness that spoke of the depth of his devotion. But even the strongest warrior cannot fight fate. Fionn's pursuit was relentless. Though he had once been a father figure to Diarmuid, the betrayal cut deep, and his heart hardened with every passing day. He sought not just to reclaim his bride, but to punish the man who had stolen her from him. The chase took them across the breadth of Ireland, but no matter how far they ran, the past could not be outrun. In the end, it was not a warrior's blade that brought about Diarmuid's downfall, but a wild boar, a creature of the forest that he had been fated to encounter since his birth. The prophecy that had shadowed Diarmuid's life came true on that fateful day when, during a hunt, the boar gored him with its tusks. As he lay dying, Gráinne wept beside him, her tears mingling with his blood, knowing that the love they had fought so hard for was slipping away. But the cruelest twist of fate was yet to come. Fionn, who had finally caught up with the lovers, held the power to save Diarmuid's life. With the water from his hands, he could have healed the wounds and spared the man he had once called friend. But Fionn's heart, hardened by betrayal, faltered. He hesitated, and in that moment of indecision, Diarmuid's life ebbed away. Gráinne's grief was immeasurable. The man she had loved, the man she had risked everything for, was gone. And with his death, the love that had burned so brightly, the love that had defied all odds, was extinguished. In that moment, the world seemed a colder, darker place, a place where love could be as much a curse as it was a blessing. The story of Diarmuid and Gráinne is a tale of love that defied the bonds of loyalty, a tale of betrayal that tore apart friendships and shattered hearts. It is a story where the lines between right and wrong are blurred by the intensity of human emotion. And it is a story that reminds us that love, for all its beauty, can sometimes come at the highest cost. In the misty, ancient landscapes of Ireland, where the boundaries between the known world and the other world were as thin as a whisper, there lived a band of warriors whose deeds would echo through time, the Fianna. Under the leadership of Fionn mac Cumhaill, they were more than just protectors of the land, they were legends, their stories filled with battles, bravery, and encounters that stretched beyond the natural world. Each adventure the Fianna undertook was more than just a fight against mortal enemies, it was a test of their courage and their unwavering code of honor. These men, bound by loyalty and a deep sense of duty, faced challenges that would have broken lesser warriors. But the Fianna stood firm, their hearts steeled not just by their training, but by the bonds they shared with one another and with their leader, Fionn. One of their most memorable battles was against the Oisín, a fearsome creature from the other world. Every year, on the festival of Samhain, Oisín would come from the fairy mounds, playing his enchanting music that lulled the people of Tara into a deep sleep. Once they were helpless, Oisín would set the great halls ablaze. For 23 years, this terror continued, with no one able to stop it. But Fionn, with the wisdom he had gained from the Salmon of Knowledge, was different. He knew he could not rely on strength alone to defeat such a powerful foe. With determination burning in his heart, Fionn prepared for the night of Samhain. As the music began and the people of Tara fell into their enchanted slumber, Fionn used a magic spear that he kept pressed to his forehead, its sharpness keeping him awake. When Oisín came to set the halls on fire, Fionn was ready. With one swift, precise throw, he struck down the creature, ending its reign of terror forever. It was a victory not just of might, but of mind, a testament to the cleverness that Fionn brought to the Fianna. But not all their adventures were against such tangible foes. The Fianna often found themselves crossing paths with the otherworld, a place where the rules of reality twisted and bent in ways that could confound even the bravest heart. It was in this strange and dangerous realm that they encountered beings both wondrous and terrifying, beings who could offer great gifts or deal out cruel curses. In one such tale, the Fianna came across a beautiful woman by a lake. She was no ordinary woman but one of the Tuatha De Danann, a race of beings from the otherworld, known for their magic and their connection to the land. The woman asked for the help of the Fianna, and without hesitation, they agreed, for it was their way to aid those in need, regardless of the risk to themselves. Their quest led them into a world where the very air shimmered with magic, where the trees whispered secrets, and the rivers sang songs of old. But it was also a world fraught with dangers, where a wrong step could lead to eternal entrapment. The Fianna, guided by Fionn's wisdom and their own indomitable spirits, faced these challenges with the same bravery they brought to every battle. And it wasn't just the otherworldly creatures that tested them. The Fianna's code of honor demanded that they stand against all that was unjust, no matter where it came from. They fought against oppressive kings, defended the weak, and upheld the values of loyalty, bravery, and truth above all else. Their code was more than just a set of rules, it was the very essence of who they were. In one of their many adventures, the Fianna found themselves in a fierce battle against a giant who had been terrorizing the countryside. This giant was no mere mortal, but a creature of immense strength and cruelty. The people lived in fear, unable to escape his wrath. When the Fianna arrived, they did so not just as warriors, but as protectors. The battle that followed was fierce, the earth shaking with the force of their blows. But it was not just brute strength that won the day, it was their unbreakable spirit, their refusal to let fear dictate their actions. In these moments, when the Fianna stood on the edge of the known world, facing down the horrors that lurked just beyond the veil, they showed what it truly meant to be a hero. It was about more than winning battles, it was about the choices they made, the values they upheld, and the courage they showed even when faced with the impossible. The role of magic in these stories cannot be understated. It was both a tool and a test, offering the Fianna incredible power, but also challenging their resolve. Finn's own magic, the knowledge he gained from the salmon, was a guiding light in their darkest hours, but it was his heart, his sense of right and wrong, that truly led the Fianna. Encounters with beings from the otherworld were always fraught with peril, but they were also opportunities for the Fianna to prove their worth. Whether it was facing down a banshee whose wail foretold death or outwitting a cunning fairy who sought to lead them astray, the Fianna met each challenge with the same unwavering resolve. They understood that these beings, though powerful, were not invincible. It was their humanity, their ability to love, to feel, to care, that gave them the strength to overcome. And through all these adventures, one thing remained constant, the bond between the members of the Fianna. They were more than just comrades, they were brothers, united by a shared sense of purpose and a deep respect for one another. Their code of honor was not just a set of guidelines, but the foundation of their very existence. It was what allowed them to face the otherworld without flinching, to fight battles against impossible odds, and to stand together no matter what came their way. The adventures of Finn and the Fianna are not just stories of battles and bravery. They are tales of loyalty, of the bonds that tie people together in the face of overwhelming odds. They remind us that true strength comes not just from physical power, but from the heart, from the love and respect we have for one another, and from the courage to stand up for what is right, even when the cost is great. In the shadow of an uncertain dawn, the fate of Ireland trembled on the edge of a sword. Two mighty warriors stood opposed, their clash destined to echo through generations. Cumhaill, the father of Finn mac Cumhaill, was a leader of the Fianna, known for his strength and unwavering honor. Opposite him stood Gall mac Morna, a warrior of equal prowess but driven by ambition and the desire for power. The tension between them had been building like a storm, and on the fields of Nucha, that storm was about to break. The morning air was thick with the scent of earth and the distant hum of men preparing for battle. Cumhaill, with his fierce eyes and towering presence, gathered his men around him. He knew what lay ahead. The conflict between him and Gall was more than a personal vendetta, it was a struggle for the very soul of the Fianna. Each man understood that the outcome of this battle would shape the future, not just for themselves, but for those who would come after them. As the sun began to rise, casting long shadows across the land, the warriors of both sides stood ready. Swords were drawn, shields raised, and the silence before the first clash was heavy with the weight of what was to come. The sound of the first strike shattered the stillness, and with it, the Battle of Nucha erupted in all its terrible glory. Cumhaill fought with the strength of a man who knew what was at stake. His blows were powerful, his movements swift and precise. But Gall mac Morna was no ordinary foe. He was a warrior of great skill, and his desire for victory burned as fiercely as Cumhall's resolve. The two clashed again and again, each strike ringing out like thunder, each blow carrying the weight of their conflicting destinies. Around them, the battle raged, the earth beneath them turning red with the blood of fallen warriors. The men of the Fianna fought with all their might, but the scales were slowly tipping. Cumhaill could feel it, the creeping sense that the battle was slipping from his grasp, that despite his best efforts, the tide was turning in favor of Gall mac Morna. And then, in a moment that seemed to stretch on forever, Gall struck a blow that brought Cumhaill to his knees. The world seemed to hold its breath as Cumhaill, the great leader of the Fianna, fell. His life ebbed away with the blood that stained the ground, and with it, the hopes of those who had followed him. The aftermath of Cumhaill's death was a wound that cut deep into the heart of the Fianna. His men, once proud and strong, were scattered, their leader gone, their future uncertain. Gall Mac Morna, having won the battle, took control of the Fianna, but it was a victory tainted by the blood that had been spilled. The loss of Cumhaill left a void that could not easily be filled, and the men who had fought beside him now found themselves under the command of the very man who had slain their leader. But Cumhaill's death was not just a loss for the Fianna, it was a loss for his family, for his son who was too young to fight by his side, too young to understand the full weight of what had happened. Fionn, though just a boy at the time, would carry the legacy of his father's death with him for the rest of his life. It would shape him, mold him into the man he would become, and in time, it would drive him to reclaim what had been taken from him. The Battle of Nucha, with all its tragedy and bloodshed, was not the end of the story but the beginning of a new chapter. The death of Cumhaill set into motion a series of events that would eventually lead to Fionn's rise as a leader of the Fianna, a leader who would carry on his father's legacy and forge a path of his own. The pain and loss of that day would fuel Fionn's determination to restore honor to his family's name, to prove himself as worthy as the father he had lost. And so, the Battle of Nucha became more than just a memory of a tragic day. It became a turning point in the story of the Fianna, a moment that would shape the future of one of Ireland's greatest heroes. The loss of Cumhaill was a wound that would never fully heal, but from that wound, something new would grow, something stronger, something driven by the love of a son for his father, and the desire to honor the legacy that had been left to him. The fields of Nucha, once soaked in the blood of battle, would be remembered not just for the lives lost there, but for the life that would rise from the ashes. Fionn Mac Cumhaill, the son of Cumhaill, would take up his father's mantle and lead the Fianna with the same strength and honor that had defined his father's life. The Battle of Nucha, though a tale of sorrow, was also a tale of rebirth, of a young boy's journey to becoming the hero that Ireland needed. The echoes of that battle would resonate through the years, a reminder of the sacrifices made and the unbreakable bond between father and son. Cumhall's death, though tragic, was not in vain, for it set the stage for Fionn's rise, for the story of the Fianna to continue, and for the legacy of one of Ireland's greatest warriors to live on in the heart of his son. In the soft light of an Irish dawn, a horse of pure white emerged from the mists, carrying a rider whose beauty seemed beyond the world of men. This was Niamh, daughter of the sea god, a vision so captivating that even the air seemed to hold its breath in awe. Her eyes, as blue as the deepest waters, met those of Oisín, the son of Fionn Mac Cumhaill, and in that instant, the world around them seemed to fade. Nothing else mattered but the connection that sparked between them, a bond that would defy time and fate itself. Oisín, a warrior poet, had known battles and the camaraderie of the Fianna, but he had never encountered anything like this. Niamh's voice, soft as the whisper of the ocean, called to him, not just with words, but with a promise of a life beyond the mortal realm. She spoke of Tir na Nog, the land of eternal youth, where no sorrow or pain could touch them, where love would never fade, and time would stand still. The temptation was too great to resist. Oisín, with his heart full of love for Niamh, mounted the white horse and left behind the land of his birth. As they rode together across the sea, the waves parted before them, and the horizon seemed to draw closer with each beat of the horse's hooves. Oisín's heart soared with the promise of this new life, a life where he could be with Niamh forever, untouched by the years that weighed so heavily on the mortal world. When they arrived in Tir na Nog, it was as if they had stepped into a dream. The land was lush and green, more vibrant than anything Oisín had ever seen. The air was filled with the sweet scent of blossoms that never wilted, and the sky above was an endless expanse of blue, unmarred by the passage of clouds. In this land, Oisín found peace and joy beyond his wildest dreams. He and Niamh lived in a state of perfect bliss, their love growing deeper with each passing day, though in Tir na Nog, days did not pass as they did in the world he had left behind. Yet, as time went on, something began to stir within Oisín, a longing he could not shake. Though he was happy in Tir na Nog, a part of him still belonged to Ireland, to the land of his birth, and to the people he had left behind. He thought of his father, Fionn, and the Fianna, and wondered how they fared. He thought of the green hills of Ireland and the stories that were his to tell. The desire to return grew stronger, until finally, Oisín could no longer ignore it. Niamh, sensing the change in him, tried to soothe his restless heart. She warned him of the dangers of returning to Ireland, reminding him that time flowed differently in Tir na Nog. What might have seemed like a few short years in the land of youth could have been centuries in Ireland. But Oisín's heart was set, and he promised Niamh that he would return to her after seeing his homeland one last time. With a heavy heart, Niamh gave him the white horse once more, but she made him promise not to dismount, for if he touched the soil of Ireland, he would never be able to return to Tir na Nog. Oisín swore to her, and with one last kiss, he set off across the sea. As Oisín approached the shores of Ireland, his heart filled with anticipation. But when he arrived, what he saw was not the Ireland he had left behind. The land was still beautiful, but it was different, changed by the passage of time. The Fianna were gone, the great heroes of his youth now only legends whispered among the people. The places he had known were either in ruins or unrecognizable. The world had moved on, and Oisín realized, with a pang of sorrow, that he no longer belonged to it. As he rode through the land, people gathered around him, marveling at the sight of this warrior from another time. They asked him for stories of the Fianna, and Oisín, with tears in his eyes, told them of the great deeds of his father and his comrades. But the more he spoke, the more the weight of time bore down on him, and the more he longed for the eternal youth of Tir na Nog. In his grief, Oisín tried to help a group of men lift a heavy stone, and in that moment, he forgot Niamh's warning. As he strained to lift the stone, he slipped from his horse, and his feet touched the ground. In an instant, the centuries caught up with him. The strong, youthful warrior became an old man, his body bent and frail, his once vibrant hair turned white as snow. The magic of Tir na Nog was gone, and with it, the life he had known. The people of Ireland, seeing this transformation, were filled with awe and sorrow. They had heard tales of the land of youth, but now they saw the price of living outside the bounds of time. Oisín, now an old man, looked around at the land he loved, the land he had left behind for love, and his heart broke. He knew he would never see Niamh again, never return to the paradise of Tir na Nog. All that was left for him was the memory of what had been, and the cold reality of what was. Oisín's story became a powerful reminder of the inevitable passage of time and the bittersweet nature of eternal youth. His love for Niamh, and the choice he made to return to Ireland, left an indelible mark on the hearts of those who heard his tale. It was a story of love and loss, of longing and regret, and of the timeless yearning for something that lies just beyond our reach. As Oisín's life faded away, the memory of Tir na Nog remained, a beacon of what was, and what could never be again. His journey, though filled with joy and sorrow, was one that spoke to the very essence of the human heart, the desire to hold on to what we love, even as time pulls it away from us. And in the end, Oisín's tale became more than just a story, it became a reflection of the eternal struggle between youth and age, love and loss, and the passage of time that none of us can escape. On a chill, misty night, as shadows danced under the moonlight, a story of sorrow and magic began to weave itself into the fabric of Irish legend. It was a tale of a family cursed by jealousy and bound by the bitter chains of transformation. The children of Lyre, once cherished and beloved, became symbols of loss and redemption, their story echoing through the ages with a heart-wrenching melody. Lyre, a powerful king with a heart full of love for his children, was tragically betrayed by the jealousy of his new wife, Aoife. She, unable to bear the sight of Lyre's children and the love he showered upon them, unleashed a curse that would forever alter their fates. The children of Lyre, Fionn, Ed, Con, and Fiacra, were transformed into swans, their graceful forms doomed to glide on the cold, harsh waters of Ireland's lakes and rivers for hundreds of years. Their transformation was not just a change of form, but a shattering of their very essence. Once human, they were now bound to the waters, their voices silenced, their lives turned into a ceaseless cycle of suffering and longing. The beauty of their swan forms was marred by the anguish of their hearts, for though they were free to fly over the waters and forests, they were forever separated from their past lives and from each other in the way they once were. As the years passed, the children of Lyre roamed the lakes of Ireland, their sorrowful calls piercing the night air. They witnessed the changing of the seasons, the rise and fall of kingdoms, and the passage of time itself. The world around them continued to evolve, but their lives remained trapped in a perpetual state of longing and despair. They saw their once vibrant home become a place of shadows and echoes, their hearts aching for a return to the happiness they had known. Their tale is one of profound loss. Lyre, who had once been a loving father, was driven to madness by the disappearance of his children, unaware of their tragic fate. The swan form of his children became a symbol of the pain and suffering he endured. The curse, though it transformed them into beautiful creatures, was a relentless reminder of the price of Aoife's envy. The swans were both beautiful and tragic, their cries echoing the depths of their sorrow and their longing for redemption. Yet, within this tragic story, there was a thread of hope and redemption. After many long years, as the curse began to wane, the children of Lyre heard the promise of release. The prophecy foretold that their suffering would end when they had endured the trials set before them and when the world would be ready to embrace their return. This glimpse of hope sustained them through the centuries, their love for each other and their longing for freedom guiding them through the darkest of times. Finally, the day came when their curse was lifted. After 300 years of transformation, they were freed from their swan forms and restored to their human selves. The reunion was bittersweet. They were welcomed back into a world that had changed so much during their absence, and though they were once again human, the marks of their long ordeal remained etched in their hearts and spirits. The story of the children of Lyre is woven into the rich tapestry of Irish mythology, not just as a tale of transformation and loss, but as a profound reflection on the themes of love, loyalty, and redemption. Their journey from beloved children to cursed swans and back to human form is a powerful narrative of resilience and hope. It is a reminder that even in the darkest of times, the bonds of love and family can transcend the deepest of sorrows and lead to a place of healing and restoration. This tragic tale resonates deeply within Irish culture and beyond, serving as a poignant reminder of the power of love and the enduring strength of the human spirit. The children of Lyre, through their pain and their ultimate redemption, embody the timeless themes of suffering and salvation, leaving a legacy that continues to touch the hearts of those who hear their story. In the shadow of Ben Bulbin, where the ancient mountains loom over the land, a dark prophecy was about to unfold, sealing the fate of a beloved warrior. Diarmuid Duibni, a hero known for his bravery and his love for Gráinne, stood at the heart of a tale as tragic as it was inevitable. The prophecy that foretold his death hung over him like a storm cloud, waiting to burst with devastating force. Diarmuid's death was prophesied to come at the hands of a monstrous boar, a creature as fierce as the mountains themselves. This boar was no ordinary beast, it was a symbol of fate's cruel design, a harbinger of doom whose appearance was destined to bring about the end of one of Ireland's greatest heroes. The prophecy had long been a shadow over Diarmuid's life, a grim whisper that followed him through his many heroic deeds. The hunt for this boar began with a sense of foreboding. Cumhaill, the leader of the Fianna and once a close friend of Diarmuid, was deeply involved. The hunt was not merely a quest for glory or sport, it was an attempt to fulfill a prophecy that no one could escape. The woods of Ben Bulbin, thick with ancient trees and whispering winds, became the stage for this tragic chapter. As the hunters ventured into the dense forest, the atmosphere grew thick with tension. The men moved with a sense of urgency, their eyes scanning every shadow for the beast that was said to be invincible. Diarmuid, ever the brave warrior, led the charge, his heart heavy with the weight of the prophecy. Each rustle of leaves and snap of twigs seemed to echo with the foreboding of what was to come. The boar, fierce and majestic, finally emerged from the depths of the forest. It was a creature of nightmares, with tusks that gleamed like knives and eyes that burned with a fierce, wild light. The battle that followed was both heroic and heart-wrenching. The boar fought with the ferocity of a cornered animal, its strength and speed matching the prowess of the hunters. Despite their skill and bravery, the boar's power was overwhelming, and it seemed that fate was determined to follow its course. In the chaos of the hunt, Diarmuid fought valiantly, determined to protect his friends and fulfill his role as a hero. But fate, it seemed, was inescapable. Amidst the frenzy of the battle, the boar's tusks found their mark. With a final, anguished cry, Diarmuid fell, his life slipping away as the prophecy came to pass. The once mighty warrior, who had faced countless dangers with courage and strength, now lay defeated in the forest he had tried so hard to protect. Fionn, who had once been a friend and ally to Diarmuid, was left to face the bitter reality of the prophecy. The weight of his role in the hunt, and the fulfillment of the prophecy, was a heavy burden to bear. The loss of Diarmuid was not just a personal tragedy for Fionn, but a profound blow to the Fianna and to all who had looked up to the brave warrior. The hero's death was a stark reminder of the power of fate and the fragility of even the greatest of lives. The themes of fate and destiny echoed through the tale of the boar of Ben Bulbin. The prophecy had loomed over Diarmuid like a dark cloud, a constant reminder that no matter how great his deeds or how noble his heart, he was not exempt from the whims of fate. The hunt, with all its valor and tragedy, became a testament to the inescapable nature of destiny. It showed that no matter how hard one might fight against the tides of fate, sometimes the outcome is already written in the stars. The story of the boar of Ben Bulbin is a poignant chapter in the saga of the Fenian Cycle, a tale that stirs the heart and lingers in the mind. It is a reminder that even the greatest heroes are not immune to the forces of fate and that the course of destiny can be both cruel and beautiful. Diarmuid's bravery, Fionn's role in the hunt, and the tragic fulfillment of the prophecy are woven together into a story that captures the essence of human struggle against the inevitable. The story of Diarmuid and Gráinne is a heart-wrenching saga that echoes through the ages, leaving a profound mark on the soul of Irish storytelling. Their tale, filled with passion, betrayal, and relentless pursuit, captures the essence of a love that defied all odds and a tragedy that continues to resonate deeply. Diarmuid ua Duibni, a warrior of unmatched valor, and Gráinne, the beautiful daughter of the High King of Ireland, were bound together by a love that could not be denied. Yet, their romance was not one of ease or joy but of tumult and hardship. Gráinne, promised to the mighty Fionn mac Cumhaill, was destined to marry him despite her heart belonging to another. The love she felt for Diarmuid was a flame that burned fiercely, defying the expectations and constraints imposed upon them. Their elopement was a dramatic and desperate escape from a fate they could not accept. With Fionn enraged by their defiance, a relentless chase ensued. The vast Irish landscape, with its rolling hills and dense forests, became the backdrop for this poignant pursuit. Every corner of the land bore witness to their flight and the obstacles they faced. Through the rugged terrain and treacherous paths, their love was both their shield and their burden. Each step they took was fraught with danger, and every moment spent in hiding was a testament to their commitment to each other. The pursuit was more than just a physical chase, it was a relentless force that symbolized the struggle against a predetermined fate. Fionn's anger and the relentless efforts to capture Diarmuid and Gráinne reflected the harsh realities of a society bound by honor and tradition. Their love was seen as a threat to the established order, and their defiance was a challenge to the norms that governed their world. The story's cultural and historical context adds layers of depth to its emotional impact. In a time when allegiances were everything and family honor was paramount, the love between Diarmuid and Gráinne was a bold defiance of societal expectations. Their tale speaks to the universal struggle between personal desires and societal obligations, highlighting the sacrifices made in the name of love. The tale's lasting impact on Irish storytelling traditions is profound. It is a narrative that has been passed down through generations, capturing the imagination of those who hear it. The story has inspired countless adaptations, from songs to poems, and has become a symbol of the timeless struggle between love and duty. Its themes of passion, betrayal, and perseverance continue to resonate, making it a cornerstone of Irish folklore. Diarmuid and Gráinne's story is a powerful reminder of the complexities of human emotions and the sacrifices made in the name of love. It is a tale that transcends time, reflecting the enduring nature of these themes in our collective consciousness. The pursuit they faced and the trials they endured are etched into the very fabric of Irish cultural heritage, ensuring that their story will continue to touch hearts and inspire awe for generations to come. On the windswept shores of Ventry, a battle loomed that would etch its name into the annals of legend. The ground trembled as the mighty Diarmuid, self-styled king of the world, prepared to invade Ireland with a host of fearsome warriors. His ambitions were vast, threatening to bring a shadow over the Emerald Isle. The stakes were high, and the tension was palpable as the fate of Ireland hung in the balance. The people of Ireland looked to Cumhaill and his valiant Fianna for salvation. The Fianna, known for their unwavering courage and honor, gathered to defend their homeland from this dire threat. Fionn, their leader, was a figure of immense strength and wisdom, and his presence alone inspired hope in the hearts of his people. The battle that was about to unfold was not just a clash of armies, but a test of the spirit and resolve of a nation. As Diarmuid's forces descended upon the shores, the battlefield was set for an epic confrontation. The Fianna, clad in their battle gear and brimming with resolve, took their positions. The air crackled with anticipation as they faced the overwhelming might of the invaders. The ground was a mosaic of tension and determination, every warrior ready to fight not just for victory, but for their homes and families. The clash was thunderous. Swords clanged, shields shattered, and the cries of warriors filled the air. The battle was fierce, each side fighting with all their strength and will. Fionn, leading his men with a fierce determination, fought valiantly. His presence on the battlefield was a beacon of hope, guiding his warriors through the chaos of combat. The courage of the Fianna was evident in every strike and every maneuver, their determination unwavering despite the overwhelming odds. Amidst the mortal conflict, the influence of otherworldly forces became apparent. From the mists of legend, figures from the ancient world emerged, their presence adding a mystical dimension to the battle. These supernatural beings, who had long watched over Ireland, now intervened in the struggle, their powers shaping the course of events. Their involvement added a layer of complexity to the battle, blurring the lines between the natural and the supernatural, the earthly and the divine. As the battle reached its climax, the consequences of the conflict began to unfold. The struggle had taken a toll on both sides, and the cost of victory was evident. The Fianna, though triumphant, had endured significant losses. The sacrifice of their comrades and the strain of battle weighed heavily on them. The victory at Ventry was not just a triumph of arms, but a testament to their resilience and courage. The aftermath of the battle left a mark on the Fianna and the land they fought to protect. The scars of battle were visible, but so were the stories of heroism and sacrifice. The victory was bittersweet, a reminder of the high price of defending one's home and the enduring strength required to face such monumental challenges. The tale of the Battle of Ventry became a part of the lore of the Fianna, a chapter that spoke to the courage of those who stood against overwhelming odds and the enduring spirit of Ireland. The once mighty Fianna, who had stood as the bulwark of Ireland against all threats, faced a decline that seemed as inevitable as the setting sun. The same strength and unity that once made them legendary now seemed to unravel before their eyes, torn apart by a cascade of betrayals, conflicts, and pressures that tested their very essence. It began with whispers of discontent that slowly grew louder. The unity that had bound the Fianna together, forged in countless battles and shared hardships, started to fracture. Internal conflicts surfaced, driven by jealousy and ambition. Leaders who once stood as paragons of virtue began to squabble over power and influence, their disagreements igniting tensions within the ranks. The camaraderie that had been their strength became a weakness, as rivalries and grievances overshadowed their common purpose. External pressures mounted as well. Enemies who had once been repelled by the Fianna's valor now saw an opportunity. The once unassailable stronghold of the Fianna became vulnerable to attacks from all sides. The pressure of these relentless assaults, combined with the internal strife, began to take a heavy toll. The glory and invincibility of the Fianna started to fade, overshadowed by the harsh reality of their crumbling unity. As the internal divisions and external threats converged, the Fianna faced their final battles. These were not just fights for survival, but poignant reflections of their decline. The once celebrated heroes who had inspired songs and legends now found themselves in desperate struggles against overwhelming odds. The battles were fierce, but the spirit that had once driven them seemed to wane. Each clash took its toll, and the costs of these final fights were steep. The deaths of key members of the Fianna marked the end of an era. Warriors who had once stood as symbols of strength and honor fell, their absence leaving a void that could not be filled. The loss was felt deeply, not just as a blow to the ranks, but as a poignant reminder of the fragility of even the greatest heroes. Their deaths were not just personal losses, but symbols of the larger decline that had overtaken the Fianna. In the shadows of their decline, the theme of the inevitable downfall of great warriors emerged starkly. The Fianna story became a somber reflection on the transient nature of glory and power. Their rise and fall illustrated how even the mightiest can face decay and dissolution. The decline of the Fianna was not merely the end of a group of warriors, but a poignant reminder of the fragility of human achievements, no matter how grand. The once great Fianna, who had stood against the tides of time with unmatched courage, now became a legend of what once was. Their story, filled with glory, betrayal, and tragic decline, remains a testament to the powerful emotions that define human history. The legend of Fionn mac Cumhaill and the Fianna has woven itself into the very fabric of Irish folklore, creating a legacy that continues to captivate hearts and minds. The tales of their bravery, honor, and tragic decline resonate through the ages, echoing in the songs and stories that have passed from generation to generation. Fionn and the Fianna are remembered with a deep sense of reverence and nostalgia. Their deeds have become emblematic of a time when heroes walked the earth, fighting for justice and honor. In Irish folklore, they are celebrated not just as warriors, but as symbols of courage and loyalty. The stories of their great feats and noble ideals have become a treasured part of Ireland's cultural heritage, cherished for their portrayal of timeless virtues and heroic struggles. The impact of Fionn and the Fianna's stories on later generations is profound. Their legends have inspired countless tales, songs, and poems, each reflecting the enduring influence of their characters. These stories have been passed down through centuries, adapting to new contexts but retaining their core messages of bravery, honor, and the complex interplay between fate and free will. The Fianna's legacy continues to inspire modern audiences, offering a glimpse into a world where heroism was measured not only by battles won but by the values upheld. The Fenian Cycle, with its rich tapestry of myth and history, holds a symbolic significance that transcends its stories. It serves as a mirror reflecting the ideals and struggles of the Irish people. The themes of heroism, loyalty, betrayal, and the inevitable decline of great warriors speak to universal human experiences. Through the lens of the Fenian Cycle, we understand the impermanence of glory and the enduring nature of honor. It reminds us that while heroes may fall, their legacy endures, shaping the values and stories of those who follow. The tales of Fionn and the Fianna are not merely stories of the past, but living legends that continue to influence and inspire. They embody the spirit of a culture that values bravery, loyalty, and the heroic struggle against adversity. As long as these stories are told, the legacy of Fionn and the Fianna will remain a vibrant and enduring part of Irish folklore, touching hearts and sparking imaginations across generations. The Fenian Cycle's mythic allure stretches far beyond the confines of ancient Ireland, captivating hearts and minds even in our modern world. Its stories, imbued with heroism, honor, and the bittersweet dance of fate, resonate with an undying relevance that continues to captivate new generations. The enduring nature of these tales reflects their deep connection to universal human experiences, making them timeless narratives that still hold meaning today. In modern times, the Fenian Cycle remains a powerful reflection of our struggles and aspirations. The tales of Fionn mac Cumhaill and the Fianna, with their themes of bravery, loyalty, and the consequences of ambition, mirror the complexities of our own lives. These stories offer a lens through which we can examine our values and the challenges we face, providing both inspiration and solace. The mythic struggles of the Fianna, their triumphs and their downfalls, echo our own battles with adversity and the pursuit of honor in an ever-changing world. The themes and lessons of the Fenian Cycle are as relevant today as they were centuries ago. The cycle teaches us about the fleeting nature of glory and the importance of maintaining one's principles in the face of overwhelming odds. The bravery of Fionn and his companions reminds us that true heroism lies not only in grand victories, but in the steadfastness of character and the courage to stand by one's values. Their stories are not just historical artifacts, but living lessons that continue to inspire and challenge us to live with integrity and honor. In the broader context of world mythology, the Fenian Cycle occupies a special place. It stands alongside other great mythic traditions, offering a unique perspective on heroism and human nature. While the stories of Fionn and the Fianna are rooted in Irish culture, their themes resonate with similar tales found in mythologies around the globe. The struggle between fate and free will, the exploration of honor and betrayal, and the portrayal of heroic ideals are common threads that link the Fenian Cycle to other legendary traditions. This universality adds to its appeal, making the cycle a valuable part of the collective human storytelling tradition. The timeless appeal of Fionn mac Cumhaill and the Fianna lies in their embodiment of enduring ideals. They represent the pinnacle of heroism, not just through their feats, but through their moral and ethical struggles. Their stories, marked by both glory and sorrow, speak to the heart of what it means to be human. In their triumphs and tragedies, we find reflections of our own dreams, fears, and aspirations. As long as their tales are told, the legacy of Fionn and the Fianna will continue to inspire and resonate, bridging the gap between ancient myth and contemporary life.